All right, good morning, bows and bow ties. Thank you for coming to my video, visiting my channel, the Black and Pain Native Woman, also known as a bow. So let's get right on into it. I want to talk about two things. One should only take about 15, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, and then the other. The first, I'm going to talk about my daughter trolling me. I got my hair done a few days ago. Well, it doesn't look the same now. And I thought I looked really good. She's like, "You look like Nana. You have Nana curls." Why was I getting ready to kick her out of my house? I thought I was cute. She was like, "Yeah, you got Nana curls." Ugh. I mean, I was like, I guess I have progressed to the Nana curls. Like, I thought I had some nice, cute little loose waves. I can't even do it the way they did it at the salon. I go to a Dominican hair salon, so I can get in and out. My hair is moisturized and conditioned and all that stuff. But yeah, she was like, "Yeah, you have banana curls." I thought I had nice, big, beautiful, bouncy curls, loose waves, and as they fall, they turn into like loose waves. Yes, she trolled me. So she might be homeless now. Anyways, let's move on to the second topic. I want to talk about China for a second. So, you know, I had some time this weekend in between sports and carrying on. And let's just say, you know how they wanted to ban TikTok because they thought that there could be all kinds of things that could be used against us, manipulate us, right? Kind of like what was done during the election, right? Like they use these apps to manipulate the American public, right? Well, now the Uno reverse has happened to us again because now other people are manipulating us, right? So there has been this huge algorithm push that after all this tariff discussion, and now China has Uno reverse and checkmate the U.S. They were like, "Hey, listen to me. Psst, lean in, lean on in. Now check this out. This was great." It was like, you know what? The U.S. has put all them tariffs on you. Not a problem. How about we peel back the onion and show you how these goods are really made and how much they really cost? So you don't even need to go to the brand, right? Why don't you come to us, the direct the factory? Go to the factory direct, the direct suppliers. So you want that Hermes bag? Not a problem. You don't have to pay 38,000, 100,000, 20,000. Hey, you can just pay the tariff on the cost that we will sell it to you for, which is 1,200 or whatever it is, right? They're showing you that some of these bags are probably only like $100 or whatever it is, or $20 to make. But then there's this huge markup, right? So now they're like, come get it directly from the supplier. Now, there was there were several videos where they actually, I'm going to talk about Hermes for a second because they sell those Birkins and the Kellys and that type of stuff. They showed how it was made, where it was, like how they do it, where it's made. They're like, "You think that these products are made in Italy?" They're like, "No, ma'am. No, sir. You think the quality of Chinese goods are bad?" They peeled back the onion. They were like, "Okay, let me tell you what you don't know. These products are made in China. We have like 42% of the artisans, actually, they said in some cases it might be more. We're the ones who are getting all the leather, this, that, and the other. We're stitching it, we're doing, and they're showing how it's done. They said, and you want to know what else happens? After we stitch it, sew it, and do all these things, and the outer edging or whatever it is that they do for the outer edging and all of the stuff, the hardware or whatever, they said we ship those bags to Italy. Yes. And what they do is they can say made in Italy because only the logo is sold onto the bag. I was like, ah! They're like, yes. They sell the logo and they put their brand on it. And now they can say made in Italy. They can mark it up. There's like, but let's be clear. These bags are made in China. And they showed all of it. They were like, this is the product. It wasn't just Hermes, by the way. So They went after the luxury brand. The luxury brand community caught strays because China was mad at the U.S. They were mad at the U.S. So now they're like, hey, US, let me show you how it's done. So now you got all the luxury brands. They're like, yo, don't listen to them. They're like, what? So remember, it was all that scandal around DH Gate. For those of you who know, you know. For people, if you're buying from DH Gate, the stuff is fake. I don't know how true that is. I've never bought from DH Gate, but apparently you can get these luxury brands for deeply discounted prices for a variety of reasons. I haven't purchased from there because I'm like feast or famine. I'm kind of like fickle with when I want to purchase any sort of luxury brand. But basically, what they're saying is Restoration Hardware. Let me show you how this. They clowned on Restoration Hardware, Hermes, Lululemon. Who else? There were so many people. Oh, and so now they're showing like you guys. They look the Chinese propaganda. I don't know who's running it, but they were like, "Oh, y'all think y'all are this, that, and the other." They're running video after video after video showing the current president and people who are in his cabinet working the fields and sowing goods, and they're showing them as big and fat and everything like that. They are poking fun at the U.S. and then they're getting on here saying like, you know what we did to you guys? You guys thought we were peasants, but we have been investing and playing in the long game of making our people better, investing in our infrastructure or in our education, all stuff like that. I'm paraphrasing. They're like, in the meanwhile, your oligarchs have sold off your jobs and your manufacturing capability. They sold it off. You can't get health care. You can't do this. You can't do that. In the meantime, our people can have affordable living. This, that, the other. Now, let me just say this: a couple things. Number one, I've been to China before, but I haven't been since 1999. So a lot has changed since then. That's been about 26 years. Um, Let me just say this. For one, the beautiful thing about propaganda is, you know, they're going to just show you all the good things. So on the one hand, yes, China has definitely come up because I've been to China, right? However, there's still problems over there, as in any country. So I wouldn't necessarily believe 100% of everything what they're saying, but there is some truth in some of the things that they're talking about in terms of what they've invested in the long term. I watched them show a car. I cannot remember the name of the brand. It escapes me. But they showed a car, an EV, an electric vehicle car, and the capabilities. They were like, you want to know why the U.S. doesn't want what our phones? They were showing people grabbing photos from the air and throwing it to other people's phones. Now, that could have just been, you know, prescriptive, whatever. I don't know. The point I'm making is they were showing some of the technology in their gadgets. They were showing the technology in their vehicles. I was looking at their EV vehicles and the capabilities and the stuff that they do. I was like, holy cow. Even the way their seats recline and the one seat reclines. Now this thing, look, I was like, okay. They have the seats reclined so that the way it reclines, it almost can. I don't want to say connects with the back seat, but like it looks like almost like a full, like you can sleep on that because it was like a little like an SUV type thing, but like their EVs, the capabilities and stuff that I was like, okay, now I let me just say this. That's the hit with propaganda. They're going to show you the good stuff as they should, but they're doing a phenomenal job of it. I would say the second thing is to beware of making the enemy your friend, right? Because I don't necessarily believe that the people of China care about people who look like me. I'll tell you why. Because of the shenanigans that's happening in Africa right now. The African continent, those nations, those different countries over there don't even have control over their own country. So they're being ran roughshod over there too by the rest of the world. So on the one hand, it's like they're like, okay, well, like I would say like the African countries over there, they're trying to, get from under French rule only to, I don't want to say be colonized, but like colonized by another oppressor, right? Like they have no control over what's happening in their countries. I think they're trying to do things differently, but let's be clear. China is over there running them up too. So they're so busy being mad at like France and everybody else in the West, which understandably so, but they're just going under another form of oppression. So I'm just like, all right, whatever. So that's why I say I'm kind of like, I'm just like, okay, well, I try to look at this in a broad sense, right? So now let me tell you why I wasn't entirely surprised, but it's been still a nice eye awakening because I had been so far removed from China in a long time. I remember when I went to Japan, I want to say it's about a decade ago. About, yeah, maybe a decade ago. I remember because my husband used to have to go over there all the time for work, and so I wound up flying over there. He was working. I was able to get somebody to watch my children for a little bit. I flew over there because normally we bring our children everywhere, but that was just for me to come over. He picked me up in Tokyo, and I remember he had to work 1 or 2 more days. I can't remember what it was, but I was at the hotel. And I had refused to get on the right time zone for that particular trip. And I don't even remember why, but I remember we went to Akihabara. I can't say Akihabara or whatever their electronics district, right? And I remember going into, now this was in Japan. They had like this huge building. It was just like Gadget Central. I was in mother loving heaven because I like gadgets and it doesn't make sense. And I know I need to get past it, but I like all the little gadgety type things. I was in 10 years ago and I was like, yo, the stuff they had over there that we don't have here. I remember when we left Tokyo and we were going to our hotel and I was looking at their vehicles and I was like, what the heck is that? And I'm looking at their regular old Hondas and Toyotas or whatever. Those were like, I swear to goodness, they would cost like $1 bajillion here. People were driving on the road with all the cool like heads up displays and stuff like that. No, I remember we were taking some sort of, I don't even think a commuter, but I don't even know what we were doing. But we were taking, whatever we were taking, I was looking out the window and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm like, why don't we have that? Why don't they export that over to the US? The technology they have in these other countries. Like I remember when I was at the hotel, I couldn't figure out how to flush the toilet. I kid you not. I was in there for like about 5 minutes. Like I don't understand. Like I was like, the toilets are smarter than me. So when we went to Akihabara, and I'm not saying this is about Japan, but the point I'm making was I was in their electronics district, and I'm sitting up in there. It's like floor to floor. It's just like just aisles of just wonderful goodness, and I'm like a child. And my husband's looking at me like, because he's not really big into gadgets, but I was enjoying that whole area. Like you could not have told me that it wasn't fun, and it was easy to get around. I mean, like don't speak a lick of Japanese. The point I'm making is this: with China and all the things that they've got going on over there, I believe it. I don't think that part is propaganda. Okay, like if I'm not sure if you recall in previous videos, I talk about there's systems out here, and I always bring up systems. I talk about there are systems, and that's why you need to be educated. Economic systems, social systems, medical systems, computer systems. There's so many systems, and I talk about how like when you are exposed to other things, it changes your mindset. It changes your on everything, on the possibilities, because anywhere you go in the world, um, there are people who are going to tackle their environmental concerns in a way that's unique for them. And it doesn't mean that that way of living, that way of life, that way of innovation can't be used with someplace else. Okay. And where I was going with that was when I, now, okay, I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this. I'm like stuttering over my words, but you probably recall in some other videos I always talk about when I was sitting on that. I was on a seminar and I believe it was a Google. Was it Google? I think it was Google, and they were talking about real diversity. Now, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're a DEI person," but check this out. They were saying the real diversity comes from not just, it's like diversity is not just racial, right? It's even where you grab people from. So you don't want to grab all of your all like if you want a computer scientist, you don't want them to all come from like one type of school. You want them to come from different schools, right? Because that's how you get the innovation. They're going to have different ideas. You don't want just one methodology, right? There's science, but then there's art to science, right? So you want kids to come from different pockets. You want rich people, you want poor people, you want black people, you want white people, you want black people who don't just come from HBCUs. You want them to come from other areas. You want, and the reason why is because like if let's say you have a problem, like like uh, a supply problem. This is a bad example. Like, look, and I know this is going to sound messed up, but you've got people in urban environments who may or may not be doing things legally. You have people in white, non-urban environments who may or may not be doing things legal or illegally. But the way they solve their supply problem might be different, but it's a supply issue. I want you to look that one sink in for a second. How do they handle personnel? How do they handle supply for whatever that thing is or that service is? And I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this, but the point I'm making is you talk about innovation and what that looks like is getting everybody together. So when you look at what China and Japan and all these other places have done, they've taken some of the American ingenuity, right? Because we do have great ideas, but they also have great ideas. They also have been forced to solve different types of problems, right? Problems that we haven't faced, so we didn't have a solution for something maybe we didn't face. And I'm just talking off the top of my head. They solve different issues. I'm looking at their vehicles and their public transportation. For years, they've been like years ahead of us. Years, decades. And the United States doesn't have as a robust of a system because we are car people. And yet we won't even import the most technologically advanced vehicles. And we have such a huge markup on everything. That EV they showed, that Chinese EV, don't ask me to remember the name because it escapes me. I was sitting there, I'm talking about mouth was agape. I was like, that thing was actually able to, like, if you got stuck in water, it actually does stuff so that the wheels can actually propel itself in water. They say it only goes like 2 miles an hour, something like that. They get you about 30 minutes or whatever, so you can try to get to some sort of safety, whatever. But you will actually float in that car. They said don't go around like trying it for sport, but they were showing what it can do. And I was like, yo, this car is like a freaking life raft. That car was like, it was doing stuff and it turned into basically something that you can just float, float on. I was like, no, this the stuff that they do inside that car. They were like, and so now you can actually float in that vehicle. It locks down certain things. I think it opens up a sunroof or whatever. Child. I was like, oh, this is dope. All I'm saying is China put out the Uno reverse and checkmate. They were like, okay, so look, y'all, US, they want to give you tariffs, not a problem. Go ahead, eat them tariffs, right? But check this out. We're going to sell you some stuff without the markup. You don't even need to go now to all these luxury brands. Come directly to us. You'll get it directly from the supplier. And like I said, they were showing it. They said we can show you better than we can tell you. I was like, yo, yo. Oh my gosh. So, like I said, I just want to say China was mad, they mad, and they peeled back the onion. Now there's layers to this, but this video is for entertainment purposes only because you never know who's watching. But I just want you to know this is for entertainment purposes, and I love the USA. Well, I do, but the point I'm making is they pulled back the layer, and they were like, and they're showing it. They're literally saying we don't need the U.S. We've been here before. We know we've been around for 5,000 years, and we know how to play the long game, and we don't need the U.S. By the way, cancel all the beef coming from the U.S. We'll get it from Australia. I was like, yeah, yo. So China is doing a really good job. They're going to go out of their way. They're going to cripple the economy with the help of our current administration because they don't understand. They're approaching this from a very like the amount of hubris we have here in the U.S. about we're so great, we're so great, we're so great. And I always say to people, like, until you leave the country, don't talk to me. You haven't seen anything. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. And the American hubris is so great that we think that there's no one else who can do anything better than us. And being that I've lived around the world, I've traveled around the world, I've seen a lot of things. America is a great country, at least when you go based off what it's supposed to be. But because we've become so polarized due to our, excuse me, I have the hiccups and a burp at the same time. We've become so polarized based off of like this ridiculous hate we have for people and the color of their skin or their ethnicity or whatever. It's like we get in our own way. And I'm not saying the rest of the world is perfect. They've got their issues. But I just want to say that Americans don't understand that there is this whole other world out there. Many of the Americans haven't even left their state. They haven't left their state. They don't know anything, let alone the country. And so it's easy to give somebody information or give them a call. It's like we make fun of people in the Middle East when they're going through the same thing. When you isolate them, they're going to think certain things. Well, you've got people here who selectively isolate. They self-isolate and they don't see anything else. They don't know that there is this whole other world out there and opportunities and capabilities. And then what happens is they think that this is the center of the world. And not everybody thinks like that. A lot of the world is like, okay, I'd rather have less money, have happiness and good health, and I get time off to raise my children. I get to do these things, and they're happy. They're happy. They're living a great life, and they're like, yeah, I'm not a bajillionaire, and they have less stress than the people here who make a lot of money. They're out there in their hometowns enjoying life, enjoying their home and their children and their grandchildren. They're enjoying food that doesn't actually kill them. It actually energizes them and helps them with their sustainment. They enjoy a more active lifestyle and not having to take drugs to help sustain their life. Like, there's so much going on out there. Anyway, I digress. Back to China being mad. China is so mad at the U.S. that they're like giving the U.S. the FU, and really, if you think about it, the West. Now they're going to make deals with the West, I'm sure, but they're like FU, well, definitely to the U.S. They're like, we don't need you. We don't need you. And by the way, we're going to undercut you. They have been kicking the U.S. behind for a long time now. Chat GPT thought they were going to make all this money, and they were like, no, sir. No, ma'am. Here's ours. What is it called? The Deep Seek or whatever they call their AI. It's like they are kicking our butts. So anyway, me personally, now this is going to sound weird. It's always nice to be number one, but you don't want to be number one in the wrong areas. Number two, I don't even care if we're number one. We don't have to be number one. I just want to live my life and raise my kids and do good things. That's what I want to do. So For all of you out there who are like really like ridiculously ignorant to what is going on, I suggest you open your eyes. Cause I am like, they keep telling these guys here like how great they are. I'm like, yo, you guys are not the top of the. It's just not. You're not performing. You're not educated. You're not innovating. You're not doing anything. All right. So look, don't be mad at me. Y'all better be mad at China. Don't be mad at me. China's the one that's got y'all all in the tizzy. Well, they got me in the tizzy because I'm like, I'm just entertained right now at how all this is gonna play out. I mean, I know it's gonna impact us for sure. But to watch people on these apps like China's flipping a decent like China's got all of this. China manufactures that. Like there are people who are like genuinely surprised. I'm like, and I get it. When you isolate yourself and you don't even leave your state, let alone the country, yeah, all this is eye opening. They're like, oh my gosh. Oh yeah. So anyway, enough hee hawing about that. So you guys just go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. It's probably the best channel out there. All right. I'll talk to you later. Subscribe to my channel. Send this to all of your aunties and everybody else. Okay. And that's basically it. Y'all need to get off of these podcasts except for mine. Except for mine. Yes, it's hypocritical, but I'm admitting my hypocrisy. All right. Until next time. Um, yeah. It's getting good out here.